Welcome back to another episode of Elevator Dialogue here on the Unkle Junior Network. With me today is this panel of great young men. As I said, young men over here. We got Mr. Poor Man, Dr. Phil, the man of many hats, across the table with Christopher McClellan, angry man that is still learning. We got the other artist, Antoine eating his nuts, Christopher, and we got Victor Vizion, Mr. Accountable Masculinity, Mr. Two-time best-selling author. Antoine, are you or are you not eating nuts right now?
Yeah.
Look, I
This
think
gonna be
we're gonna have a good show today.
Let's see what this Wednesday
But I'm
brings.
gonna give you guys a little bit of the audience. First of all, thank you all for being here. Appreciate y'all being here, tuning in live, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instabook, Facegram, all these different things. Whatever platform you're on, appreciate you being here. If you're watching it on the replay, I appreciate you for tuning in as well. Make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff like that. But let me let y'all, the audience, into a little glimpse of what we have to go through backstage sometimes. So right before we jumped on, first of all, we come on a little bit earlier every day to do mic checks and do sound checks and stuff like this. And sometimes we go over show notes and different things like that we may want to talk about. Well, Antoine comes in today about 36 seconds before we're supposed to go live. So if y'all want to blame anybody for being late tonight, you guys can feel free to blame Antoine.
yeah.
Actually, I can blame myself, but I'm gonna blame Antoine tonight. I'm gonna take off all the accountability. I'm not gonna have any accountability, and I'm gonna blame Antoine. So, but Antoine, enlighten us with that wonderful joke
Oh no, please
that you
don't do
shared with
this.
us
Yeah, share it, share it.
backstage before we came on. So hopefully the audience will enjoy it just as much as
Wow.
we did.
I think this is a good joke. So
Oh,
I said to the gentlemen on this distinguished panel, I said to them, "What's Bruce Lee's favorite drink?" They all looked around. They all didn't have an answer. They stayed quiet. So I said, "What was Bruce Lee's favorite drink again?" They didn't know. So I said, "Water." I think that's funny.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is some of what we go through backstage before we
That's
come
really
on.
funny.
Good, bad, or indifferent. This is part of the reason why we all enjoy being over here. Not only does this give us an opportunity to share our experiences and it can possibly help you in a situation or something that you may be going through, but at the same time, it gives us as men an opportunity to get together and talk and kid and joke around and stuff like that. So if you don't have a wolf pack or if you don't have a group of men, we all suggested suggested even if you get together just for a little bit of time, it can be so powerful. Sometimes just to get over here and talk and have conversation, because sometimes we even talk behind stage or after the show. I mean, I think we've talked up to an hour and a half, 2 hours before, at some point in the past on here just about other stuff. So we understand the value and the importance of the wolf pack and having other men that you can mingle with. So like I said, if you're out there and you're listening to this, if you ain't got a wolf pack, go out there and try to find you one. With that being said, gentlemen, how are you guys doing today, other than Antoine's joke?
I'm traumatized from the joke.
I thought it was
That's one of them bad dad
Yeah,
jokes.
it was terrible.
you gotta get
Look,
I thought
that's
And
why.
then he said he got his internet fixed.
Yeah, now that that's stuck.
Stuck right now.
Now
He
he's
loaded.
stuck like Chuck.
that was the
What
internet
he
gods
doing?
for that joke he told.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
Yeah, the joke gods got him.
Yeah.
Hey, with that being said, regardless of who you are, male, female, boy, girl, young, old, or whatever like that, if you haven't lived under a rock for some time, you've heard of the word creativity. And a lot of time we think of creativity, we want to just think about artists or somebody like that. So with that being said, I just want to start off the group. The topic tonight is unlocking your inner genius and a guide on how to cultivate creativity. So I just want to start off the conversation with what is the essence of how to be creative? Like, what does it mean to be creative? Creative. Because we always say, hey, you need to be creative, you need to do something, you know, people to get these creativity, these creative mindsets and different things like that. So what say you when it comes to what is the essence on how to be creative?
I think you got to think multi-dimensionally of yourself, and you know, like you grow up pretending and mimicking, you know, like certain situations about like how you would take charge of them. You put yourself in you know, like whatever hypothetical scenario that you can. You know, like I guess simulate, because that's what it is to simulate something. Is to simulate an outcome and actively, you know, like participate in it, you know, and be adjustable within it. I think being flexible too.
I know you just jumped in right now, Antoine. You might have missed it, but we're talking about just ask the question: what is the essence of how to be creative? Like, what does it mean to be creative?
Everybody is creative in some way, but because I use creativity every day, it comes naturally to me because I'm an artist, so it just flows through me easier than the most. But I think creativity usually comes out in people that are stressed in a certain situation that they have to think their way out of it, so they become creative, right? For the average person, that's how you become creative. You have to be stressed out, put yourself in a situation where you need to be creative. Whereas for me, I'm creative all the time on a certain level, right? So in order so the essence of it, the whole premise of creativity, it's in everybody, but just some have it more than others. But generally speaking, creativity only comes out when you're in a situation that stresses you. Then you have to become creative in the situation you're in to get yourself out.
Never heard that before.
After hearing what everyone already said, I would say the essence of how to be creative would be the feeling of being able to take a thought and make it real. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even if it is to get out of a situation, even if it's to put a painting on the wall, to design a t-shirt, all of that starts with a thought. And the fact that you can take that thought and actually make it tangible, I think that could be a part of the essence of it. Or maybe the essence in itself, because that's fundamentally what you're doing. You're taking a thought and you're making it tangible.
I think the essence is manifestation. Like some people have the ability to manifest an idea. You know, like a lot of people have ideas. Very few people have the intangibles that connect that idea to something that goes from potential to kinetic.
See, I think it's definitely mental and not necessarily a stress related, but when you can conjure up something in your mind and say, man, this and this may fit well together and it's outside of the norm. So your creative juices get to flowing and you say, man, I'm gonna try to put that together. Like when I put the macaroni and cheese in the chicken wings or whatever it is, like, man, I like this and I like that. Let me see how it is combined.
Macaroni
I
and
was
cheese.
writing, I was writing my thoughts down. I was trying to capture some of the stuff that y'all had said and kind of add my own little twist to it. I'm looking at the essence of it is, you know, even what Roland said, we're talking about adding, you know, chicken to macaroni and cheese. You know, I think that is maybe something that's like original thinking. Like that's something that, you know, that's like an original thought. Yeah, maybe you have thought about it, maybe you've heard about it, but like I get thinking this situation, it's like original thinking, you know, and I think, you know, like what Antoine was saying, you know, when it comes to having to stress to go through something, I looked at that as like problem solving skills or something like that, that, you know, you need to like be able to exercise your problem solving skills or something like that. And then almost like I guess I came up with the word innovative, like to come up with something new. And I guess that's kind of where what Chris was going to, is where like where you start with a thought, you know what I mean? You know, and there's the thought process of, hey, look, I'm gonna add chicken, or I wonder what it'd be like to add this chicken into this macaroni and cheese. You know what I'm saying? And then now you got to come up with the, that's like original thinking. You got to come up with the problem, way to a way to figure out how to make the macaroni and cheese with the chicken in it. You know what I mean? And think in return you come up with a, no,
Chicken with the macaroni and cheese in it.
hold on. Chicken with the macaroni
Chicken
and cheese
wings.
in it.
See, yeah, and that's the thing. You got to debone the chicken. You got to get through that process first. How do I debone the chicken? Now you got to put the macaroni and cheese inside of the chicken wings, and then you fry them, and then you prepare them and fry 'em.
These sound like some IKEA instructions.
I don't know, they
And
probably
This
be
sounds
good though.
like it should be a man versus food challenge.
Man, can you imagine like dipping that into like your favorite sauce and then just biting it and then that
Y'all
macaroni and cheese come out? Bro, I bet them things is busting.
heard-
I bet they taste
But you
better
see
than
what I'm
them nuts
saying?
Antoine eating over there.
But
the
you
one
see,
that was
Okay.
best was the
I think you guys need to understand something with creativity, because you're explaining it. You guys are talking about creating something as far as food, object. That's not the creativity I'm talking about. Creativity is pulling something out of nothing, right? The creativity part is channeling. You're pulling something out of nothing. You don't have two objects, or you're trying to get yourself out of a situation. Creativity has something to do with channeling, right? It's the essence. You're pulling it out of nowhere. It's like having a blank piece of paper and wondering what to do with it. And then all of a sudden, the thought comes to you, a creative thought comes to you that comes through expression. And then the expression is done through your hand onto what you're doing. Let's say you're a man and you're not an artist, but you're a man. And you're put in a situation where there's no way out. The essence of creativity is going to come to you to find a way out. So you're going to be creatively thinking how to get out. The act of doing. It's the thought process that's coming to you, channeling.
I understand what he's saying. It's like once you channel the right energy to produce, like you do as the energy says. You know,
Right.
like you submit to the thing that's being handed to you. You know what
The
I'm saying?
thought process,
Comes
exactly.
within it. Thought process, exactly, because you only get it in that moment, that particular way. You could get it. You could, if it came to you once a day, it'll look different every time. So that's why you have to submit to it to do it, because you can't pretend that you can get that same exact moment again. You know, and that's one of the things that comes along with the creativity thing. It's impulsive because
Right.
you have to operate as it operates with you, you know, and you can't. The creativity has to be there in order for you to produce anything. If you meant to produce something,
That
from that.
seems hard.
It is, and
Seems
that's
like
why.
it could be very challenging for somebody, because when you talking about you got to submit to something, and you know you may not have that thought process. It's almost like you may not find the opportunity to get in that zone again or something. I don't know. I've heard of like readers that like would leave and go stay in a place on the cabin in the woods or something, so they can just be without everything, so they can be in a place to where they can create.
Yeah, because most of us produce with 1,000 distractions going on around us, you know, and they use it as a stimulus. You know what I'm saying? I know I've definitely used writing as a trauma response to something, or a coping mechanism, because like if you got somebody that's like, I'm an introvert, so people take my written words differently than my spoken words, and the most of the times where I feel like I'm able to get my point across is through writing books, or just a written statement to convey what I think I understand, about whatever said topic it might be. Now, how the other person takes that, I can't, predict that because everybody's responsible for their own triggers, right? And if you're passionate enough about something, you find more refined ways to deliver the same intent. But the thing is, it's going to look different. It's going to look a certain way until a higher understanding changes the creativity of that person. Because if they're meant to do it for real, they're going to adjust. If they're just doing the same thing, then they're just recalling a bias that's built into them. So it's going to always look the same. It's going to have the same technique. And some of those things are going to always be present. I mean, it's down to like what producers and music. We can tell the difference between certain producers by the sound, right? So same with an artist. It doesn't matter if it evolves, whether that means if you author text, write screenplays, or you got a signature thing about it. It's like everybody knows what a Guy Ritchie film is structured like, right? Everybody knows what a Spike Lee joint is structured like. So everything has a signature on it, and that's the power of creativity. It writes your name in stone.
And that's why, like when people do, like I used to write music, and I used to make sure that I didn't listen to anybody, I didn't listen to anything, because what you'll do, it'll be in the back of your head. So when you're writing, when you're listening, or whatever, you start writing what they sound like. And you notice when people spent time making songs the same night or at the same time, because the whole CD sound the same. And it's like, okay, they were just trying to get through a project. But you can tell when this sounds totally different from that, it's like, okay, they spent time with this. This is more personal. And you can see the layers of it versus you just going out there putting something down.
Dang, that's what's up. I didn't even realize all of that, especially when it came to the music. I just looked and I was like, man, I like that song. I like this song. I don't like that song.
It's
You know what I
complex.
mean? But now that you think about it, I guarantee if I was to go back and listen to some old CDs, I definitely would be able to pick them up. Even stuff that like I listened to, on a regular basis back in the day. Interesting. A shout out to Real Bravado Network. He said Vic went over there and killed it. And shout out to Charlotte Jordan. When was you over there? Was that same night? The other night? A different night.
Yeah, I think it was. I went over there for a little while, and
What
we
was,
had
what was
real.
the topic?
Oh, it was deconstructing the demise of the black family
Oh,
Mm,
from a certain period. You know what I'm saying, to a certain period, the economic and political impacts and stuff that were variables in the outcome. And he's doing like I think a 3-part series.
mm-hmm.
Is educating people, and then at the end he's gonna have solutions. So I think he's doing a pretty good job of opening up the conversation, and a lot of people that were participating in it, they had a lot of constructive feedback, and and it wasn't a pity party. It was like it wasn't a woe is me situation. It was about understanding where we are present. You know what I'm saying, and setting the conditions in the conversation so you can leave room to have your opinion change with new information. So shout out to TJ at the Real Bravado Network for doing a great job of educating his demographic of people that view him and subscribe to his channel.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. With that being said, we talking about your inner genius. So with that being said, how would you define your inner genius when it comes to creativity? Because I've heard that plenty of times. You got to channel your inner whatever, your inner this, your inner that. Um, what are they talking about? What do they mean when you talk about defining your inner genius when it comes to creativity?
I would
Or is
say
it a bunch of BS?
um, I think it's about how vulnerable you are.
What do you
You
mean?
meaning like you can't be creative and be uh, so closed. You have to be vulnerable in order to express your creativity. Meaning like everything you do, you're gonna have a different degree of ego assignment to it. You're gonna take some things personally that other people won't take personally. Sometimes you should be your self-awareness is different because you have to operate with a different view of things. Like um if you're a super linear person, you're probably not going to be able to understand a lot of the things that somebody that's a creator or creative does. You know what I'm saying? And why they do it, or why they think the way they think. Their behavior is just different. I don't think that you can expect a great rock album if it was produced in a library. Uh, and it's certain people that have certain behaviors that produce certain things. Most people's favorite entertainers are, alcoholics and and drug abusers. So because they have to go to a different frequency to create, the art that entertains, that demographic of people that they can relate to. So I think to tap into your inner genius, you have to be exposed a little bit. That's why some people's creativity is stifled. It is only in their head. It never comes out. And in an expressive form, because it requires you to pump yourself up. You got to lie to yourself sometimes, probably too. You probably got to go in there and be a super self-starter, and a lot of people don't have self-empowerment, and then they don't have a skill that goes along with the I guess the conduit to express themselves. I think a lot of people put the pen down from when they used to say a lot of people used to draw and they can't draw anymore. So if you put the pen down, you lose inspiration, and you might be able to still see it in your head, but you don't have the confidence that goes with it that allows you to express it.
So if you could draw, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around this inner genius thing. So if you could draw and you put the pen down for a certain amount of time, and then you picked it back up, would you be able to tap into your inner genius then?
Depends on how inspired you are.
Mm.
I mean, you can be inspired to do anything with the tools you know how to do.
So is the inner genius just like a thought process or something like that, like a very dialed in thought process, or a very creative portion or part of your brain or your thought process?
I think
I
inner
think the
genius is present all the time.
I think the inner genius would be that part of you that's willing to, even though you're scared, even though it's fear there, because no one wants to be mocked. No one wants to say that's some trash. No one wants that, but you got to be able to push through that because you have something that you want to express. And as long as you want to express it, you got to be able to push it out. And what happens is people stifle it because they say, well, this don't look like that, or this, it's a comparison thing. It's like when Eric Badu made that song called Tyrone. At the beginning of it, she said, she made mention that she's serious about her stuff because at the end of the day, when you saying something that ain't of the norm, people gonna look at it like that's whack, and nobody wants that type of ridicule. So the inner genius says, even though everybody else is doing this, this is how I want to do it, and I don't care what they're saying. I'm gonna push through it because this is me. In essence, you're pushing you out.
I think the inner genius is also the youngest, most creative version of you that was a kid, like the one that used to draw with crayons and in kindergarten.
I would say the inner
I think
genius is more like
I,
when you're in the zone. You understand what I'm saying? Like when you're doing something and the only thing that matters is that something, and you are pouring everything that you got into that something. You understand what I'm saying? It's like the world stops. You understand what I'm saying? Like when you're on a basketball court and you know you can make every shot on the basketball court, the basketball hoop looks like a hula hoop. You understand what I'm saying? And you can just go. That aspect of it is what I would say the inner genius of becoming creative is. You understand what I'm saying? It's that one thing that you could just go and just do and tune everything out. And it's like the world stands still when you do it.
What you got, Antoine, before you go back out, before we lose you? You may be
I
delayed.
think for me, when I think of inner genius, I think it's the ability to do what you're good at. The inside of you knows what you're connected to, and it's your creativity, your inner genius to be good at what you do. I don't necessarily see it as like somebody that's how can I explain this? Because I think I think you guys are missing what I'm trying to say when I say the creativity. Creativity is an energy. It's not really. It's like a thought process, but it's like an energy. It's a vibe. It's something that makes you creative right there when you need it. It's like that inner voice. It's like you're channeling something outside of the norm to get you out of this situation you're in. It's not really a necessarily of putting two things together to be creative and make it. Is how I look at creativity,
Would
right?
you
I
say,
think, and
would
your
you
inner
improvise?
genius. What was that?
Would you say improvising, the ability to improvise is
Yeah, it's like you know what you need to do, but you improvise that little last minute second. You improvise that. Oh shit, do it like this. It's that little voice, that creative voice that puts it into the right situation. It's
so
like
So
you
some would
Hold on, wait a minute, wait a minute,
some
wait a minute, wait a minute. You see what Antoine just did though? Do you see how difficult it is for him to describe that feeling, but he knows that it's there? You
yes,
understand what I'm saying? Do you see like I can see the wheels turning when he tries to explain it,
there's
but
no
it
words
still
for it.
doesn't, yeah, it still doesn't give it justice. That's what I mean by like the inner genius of it. You understand what I'm saying? It's like that feeling you really don't know what it is, but you know it feels really, 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 really good. And for some strange reason, you feel like the entire universe is at your back pushing you towards it. So you just zone out and do it. But you
yes,
can't describe it. You don't even know what it feels like. It actually you do, but even trying to put words on it doesn't give it justice.
You can't
yes,
simulate it.
You
exactly.
That's the
understand
thing
what I'm
about
saying?
creativity. You can't simulate it. That's what I
Yeah.
was saying earlier.
And it's
The best
different
thing I
for
think
everybody.
it's
It's
different
different
for,
for
like
everybody.
you guys all had this in your life. You know when you go into the gym and you know you're gonna do a personal best. You can't describe it. You can't tell them when but you know you're gonna do you're gonna better yourself. You just have that it factor to that you can't put something on it, but you're like, what's wrong with you? Today? You're like killing it today. I don't know, man. I just feel it. It's like that creative. Oof, it's like you channel. Creativity is channeling. You know, everything comes together. The stars are aligned. You know, you got that whole feng shui thing going on,
It's a
right?
gift.
what you got
Yeah, and
rolling?
everybody has some form of creativity in them that shines at a certain moment, at a certain time. I guess you know, and if I had to say it's something, it's just that little inner voice, that intuition, that what's the word I'm
Improvisation.
looking for? You
Yeah,
know, when you
improvisation. There you go.
improvise,
I got you. I know what you mean.
improvisation. There you go. It's that. It's that. You know, it's like this is it. This is my favorite saying. Okay, it takes a gift to recognize a gift amongst the many, but every so often, greatness gives birth to a phenom. And that phenom is like the Michael Jacksons of the world, the Michael Jordans of the world. Records are meant to be broken, but the how they did it and when they did it and the energy you felt when they did it will never be surpassed. There will never be another Jordan, even though greater basketball players like you can compare LeBron. That little it factor is creativity. That little I don't need to practice as much as you. I could just pick up the ball and creatively do it, right? And every so often you get that spark when you're doing it. See what I mean? It's like, you know, when a choreographer is looking at 1,000 dancers and everybody's wondering, how does he know which one's the best? It's because the creativity of that each person stands out differently. They may jump high, but that person just jumps in a certain way. Creativity that makes them stand out from the rest of them. I hope that helps.
Yeah, what you got rolling?
No, I was just going. I agree with Antoine because it's a channel, and I think some people they say we work off 10% of our brain, and I think other people that can channel other aspects of it. I was in the studio one time with somebody, and this is somebody big, and just watching them, I'm like, man, how the heck even think of that? You know, and the way they do things, the way they move, it's like it's natural to them, but to the average dude, it's like, wow. You just sit back and all you can do is be amazed because their creative genius is it surpasses anything you can even do.
You can't simulate it because it
Yeah.
comes from like that's why I talk about the subjective and the objective, right? Whatever's in your like your subjective conscious, your subconscious is what you desire, and what comes out no matter what you do. That's why like some people can't break their cycles if they are subconsciously playing back traumatic events and then making decisions off of those old past events, right? But if you find a way to transmute that negative energy into something that you could channel, use in combination with your creativity, you get a different outcome, and you get a different sense of self, and you can complete something. You know that you can go further than what you've already, done before, and you kind of like take your limitations off once you, do something from the abstract and make it tangible, and
Yeah.
then you could, discuss that walk in life that brought you to, this this culminating event and whatever product it is. That's why like artists are always just talked about when they produce an album and it's a culture bending iconic album, that's why music is synonymous with whatever's going on in the world. Like the music was different when it was Vietnam, because the the creative spirit of people was going to find a way to express itself and give its grievances, because creativity is like one of the main ways that people can express grievances.
Exactly, Vic. And like Vic's a writer, right? Anybody could put down Vic's words, but the creative part is they coming to Vic. They're coming to him. That's the creative part. They're coming to him. For you and me, we have to think about, what comes next. For him, it's
I
and he
want to
just
punch whoever
expressed.
set Antoine's internet up in the face.
Like
Yeah,
I
of
really
all
want to do it. I
shows,
want to punch them in the
of all
face
shows, the
so
one where
hard.
yeah,
of all
look,
shows.
hey, but I I get it, Antoine. It's like if you were like painting, whatever you choose to paint, you could probably paint whatever you want to, but when you choose to paint something that is in your head, you're gonna do that particular painting differently than you'll do one that somebody requests of you, because you're hard on yourself. You demand more for yourself. That's the thing about creativity too, and the energy of it makes you hard on yourself.
Bingo. Exactly.
And it we create like creativity blocks because of it sometimes, because you want to deliver, you don't want to have to go back and correct anything that you can get right the first time. So
Yeah.
sometimes you end up being in an all or none type of situation in your mind, and it becomes a writer's block in some cases. It's not that you don't know what to say. Sometimes it's you know what to say, but you don't know how to arrange it, because the arrangement of information determines, like how it's consumed, digested, interpreted, and then even disseminated and shared with other people. So you want to be very careful about, the way that you convey your message, in your expression. I don't know. Hey, what? Like it's complex, man. It's from the abstract, and some people can explain it.
It's
And
another one of those things that's simple but not easy.
yep, and you know what's so funny? Like, and I got on the shirt right now. I don't know if it's gonna show up very well because it's yellow, but it says YGMFU, right? And it stands for, in this situation, you gotta manifest for understanding. Until you create something and see it through to completion, have it critiqued, reviewed, challenged, you're not gonna understand you're gonna have a different level of understanding of creativity until you fully engage your creativity and produce something, and then have it meet criticism. You know what I'm saying? And then see if you're willing to go back and do it again, regardless of whatever feedback you get. So that's the challenge of it, because nobody can be harder on you than you can be hard on you. As you could be on yourself. And that's really what it comes down to, is the ability to be hard on yourself and still work through it anyway. Some people quit.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's
And I'm gonna get to the Charlotte Jordan. Charlotte Jordan, I'm gonna get to your question once Antoine gets back. But before we do that, I want to jump to this other question. Um, Everybody don't get there. Everybody doesn't necessarily tap into their creativity for whatever reason. Charlotte Jordan did post a good question. Like I said, when Antoine get back, we'll get to it. But in the meantime, in what ways do you think, or what ways can external factors either hinder or nurture one's ability to foster creativity? I'm going to start by just saying sometimes it can just be your upbringing. Sometimes you may not see it. You may get brought up to where thinking a certain type of way is wrong. So I think that there are situations where people grow up and they just never really learn about creativity other than what they see in school. And I ain't even going to get on that, how much at some times and in some places that, the school system itself can shun creativity. But that's another whole topic for another whole day. But like I said, I do think sometimes the way you're brought up can definitely hinder or nurture someone's creativity. Because I mean, say for instance, it could be economics. You are the young child, you growing up, you like, you know what, I really want to play the piano, or I really want to play an instrument or something. But in one situation, they may not have the money to pay for lessons, to rent a horn or something like that. And then there's another situation to where um, it's being nurtured because they have the resources to do. It can hire a private tutor to go to lessons 5 days a week and have a piano, grand piano brought into the house, or a keyboard or something like that. So, external factors such as someone's upbringing and the resources that the family has can definitely either hinder or nurture someone's ability to foster their creativity.
um in what ways can external factors either hinder or nurture one's ability to foster creativity? I think I think it depends on the person's character and their ability to adapt to change. Um, because if they desire to express themselves no matter where they are, geography is not going to stop them from producing whatever it might be, So external factors exist. I think it's up to the person and how they navigate that to still find a way to foster creativity. Now, if there's a particular creativity that you have that might be limited by geography, like say for instance, if a person's creativity might be in like colder climates. If you are an ice sculptor and you live in Jamaica, I'd like to see how that works out. If you
They did have the Jamaican bobsled team.
yeah,
Ruben.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it can't work.
I know.
But like, if you want to demonstrate your creativity as a surfer, you're probably not going to move to a landlocked state. You're not going to move to Nebraska. So I think creativity is like relative to whatever environment it is, and somebody's found a way to reproduce like the same thing no matter where they are. There's always an artist somewhere. There's always somebody that plays music. There's always somebody that does physical body contortion dancing. Like you can look at the New York subway and think about that. Think about how much talent is on the New York subway.
Okay, I got one thing that hinders creativity
is the internet.
Big factor.
The internet connection.
Who did this to you? Who did this to you?
Who
sir?
did you piss off? Who
is angry at Antoine Christopher, the artist?
Hey,
what did you do? Were you
I don't know, man.
Did you have a little bass in your voice on the phone when you were talking about your little internet? Is that what it was?
I'm
Jesus
gonna,
H.
I'm gonna call them. I'm gonna call them. Don't worry. I'm on it. I'm on it. But one thing that hinders creativity that everybody needs to know is not criticism, um, but the not criticism, but the avenue to express your creativity. That could shut it down. If you don't
Ooh,
have
like what?
Example.
like you're trying to
Opinion?
express a certain thing that you have within you, right? But somebody's trying to direct you in a way that you know creativity is this way, and they're
Like
trying
They
to,
parents.
see it. Yeah.
like a parent, right? You know what you're good at. You
Mm.
know what you're doing. You creatively is there, but somebody that hinders you back from expression. That's a shutdown thing for creativity.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I guess the
and
external.
and that's sometimes what, like, I think that's what drove Picasso to go nuts. The avenue of expression that he was always hearing, and his channeling was more than most. He didn't have that expression to put it somewhere, and it drove him crazy because he had so much of it, because nobody's ever seen what he did before, right? And if you notice, most artists back in the day, Picasso, Frazetta, all those guys, they all went cuckoo, right? Because nobody allowed them to express how they feel, you know.
You gotta find an outlet. So
So I
I
guess
Yeah,
they can do both.
like Vic, you would relate to this. Like Vic, you would relate to this. Some books get banned. That's for an artist. That's devastation for a writer, right? Your books gets banned, and here you are. You spent months creating it, and all of a sudden you can't put it on a shelf. But creatively, you know it should be there, and somebody, boof. That's like that. Oof. I'm
yeah,
sure Vic, you know.
yeah, that's quite a few things. Like anytime you get your avenue blocked in some type of way, like it doesn't matter what it is, so because it can happen in anything, But I know exactly what you mean. Like when you got a completed product and nowhere, what I'm saying, to display it,
Right.
or you don't have an audience, rather.
Yes.
I think that's the main thing. Not having an audience.
Not having an audience.
Yeah,
Nobody came to my concert. Like nobody's there for me to sing to.
that would definitely have to be like a redefining moment. Like you hear comedians talk about getting booed, and they all have been booed before. So
Yeah.
like knowing that you got to go try it in, what I'm saying, probably is different when you getting booed for not being funny.
Right.
It's your
So
life's work.
so the external factors can hinder and nurture at
Right.
but it just depends on the situation. Is that what I'm hearing?
The character of the person. I think it depends on the character of the person, because you got to think there's some people that have a talent and they can demonstrate it at a high level, but the difference in them and their peers is how they deal with the criticism when they don't do what other people anticipate. Like for instance, right? Kevin Durant handles criticism of his game way different than a lot of other players, right? So he in some players or entertainers or athletes, if we're using that as an example right now, will like get into it with hecklers online. And whereas there's some people, they'll let you talk all day about them. They don't care if you're trying to go. They don't even go look to see what you're saying about them.
Post and ghost.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another component that nobody's mentioning.
Okay.
The component of being in an environment where everyone sees you have a talent but wants you to stay where you are, so they tell you you need to stay where you are and don't give you the type of environment that you need to be creative.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
that's kind of
What would that
suppression.
be,
Yeah.
Antoine?
What was
The
that?
type of people, like I talk about it all the time, man. The type of people that are around you, that are happy that you're doing good but don't want you doing better than them. So diving into your creativity and diving into your talent might be, for some strange reason, an ego downer to them, because they may think that you better than them because you dived into your creativity. You understand what I'm saying? And that's a portion that a lot of us don't know how to get over, because a lot of these people that want, quote unquote, want you to do good but not better than them, are sometimes camouflaged as the people you grew up with or your friends.
Yep.
And Vic is right about that too, because you can have You know what a good example of that is when nobody wants to invest in your creativity. It's like your mom knows you're a great hockey player, but she don't want to buy you the equipment to play, so you can't play. So here you are wasting time saving up money to buy the equipment. That will destroy you, right? And it's like people ask, "Oh, is is fear, can fear hold you back?" I am never scared to talk about art, right? There's no artist that's going to come in front of me and I'm going to be shaking in my boots because I believe I'm the best. The only fear that an artist really has, like internally, and I'm sure Vic could relate to this, is when we can't express it and we know there's no way for us to express it. That little fear of like, will it ever get out? Like, shit. Like, every
Yeah.
avenue, nobody could see what I could see from these words or this picture, right? But
I would say
we don't have fear when we're talking about what we create. There's no fear in that.
I think it varies. I think there's
Right.
a component in there that mirrors exactly what you're saying, Antoine. But like it may apply differently for me than it does to you. Like some things you'll take personally that I probably wouldn't, and vice versa, right? So I think for as far as like being a writer is concerned and not having an audience, I don't have that concern because I think uh, as a writer you have to cultivate differently. Like as an artist, you got to paint, socialize, work for certain clients, and get referrals. You know, but as a writer, I can decide I can drop whatever I want to drop right now. You know what I'm
No, but
saying? I
let's say
can.
put yourself as a writer, Vic, and somebody had to narrate your writing as a play. They had to.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's about the timing in which I want to um, engage and how vulnerable do I want to be? How exposed, you know what I'm saying? Do I want to be? Because like if you produce a book, you got to be ready to talk about it. And if you're not ready to talk about it, you know you should probably, you know what I'm saying, have better expectation management of how you want to, you know what I'm saying, get it out because the information is going to go out, right? Because you didn't do it for no reason, but you have to reconcile differently because you hear about like actors like they take on a certain character and they have to go on like a spiritual journey to cleanse themselves afterwards because they have to go to a different place to produce, you know what I'm saying, they have to produce the character for it to be believable, right? Well, as a writer, you have to do the same thing. You have to put yourself on multiple sides of different scenarios, depending on what type of writing you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And if you're doing something that's very introspective, you're gonna have a different spin on it than you know writing maybe fiction or something else like that. Because I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is to write like space novels or something. You know, because I haven't done that type of writing. I don't even think I have that kind of experience. But I'm creative enough to know how to arrange my thoughts to tell a story. So I have to time what part of the story I want to introduce first before I can tell the whole thing the right way. So um, the space for being able to speak and the audience is the most important thing because if you don't have a receptive audience, you're wasting your time.
To the topic at hand, I'm gonna jump in. Hopefully, external factors. I thought y'all would have jumped on it earlier, but because I've never taken any drugs or anything like that, when I did edibles, it took my mind. It took me to a place where creatively I was feeling like I was on another plane for real. So I could understand why Jimi Hendrix or whomever it was, why they did certain things and then they were in that zone. Because it took me, I was like, whoa, what the heck? And I'm writing and I'm doing music, doing screenplays and skits, and I'm all over the doggone place. And I'm like, hold on, I don't like this feeling because it takes me out of my normal, out of my comfort zone. So that's one of the factors where it could hinder and help because it could help you to be like Robin Williams, where he had to do something to get on stage, and they up there getting that nose candy, and they doing these get on stage, and they get that bravado, and then it could hinder because it could take you further than you are willing and wanting to go.
Yeah, someplace you can't get back from.
Yeah. I think that's important. I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard on podcasts and stuff, and over the years, people talk about man getting high and getting drunk and taking some other substance in order to get to a certain level of creativity and openness and freeness and stuff like that, so they can create and stuff like that. What you think about that stuff, Antoine? What's your opinion about it?
Well, I've written some of my dopest rhymes and some of my best papers high.
I said earlier,
But
your
see,
favorite
thing
artist
though,
on drugs.
right, here's the thing though. There's a difference between somebody getting high and then doing some shit and then somebody just getting high and just doing nothing. You understand what I'm saying? But they're also I can go into it, but there are also different strains
Yeah,
that are
but
actual strains that make you productive. You understand what I'm saying? So
When you're like that, remember a drug makes you open back part of the brain, right? Because it gives you nothingness, clear. It
it's
makes
a
you think.
hallucinogen.
It's an hallucinogen. So it opens that side of the brain to just channel all kinds of things. That's why you feel more powerful. You feel like you have no fear. Everything goes away with that part of the brain. It's like, you get more courage when you're on alcohol because it unlocks that part, you know.
people become prettier.
Oh,
Well, the more you drink, yeah. Sure.
yeah. When you
and
have
more and
goggles,
more handsome.
Hey, way before Instagram filters.
right?
Yeah.
Before Instagram filters, there was beer
Yeah.
goggles.
Hey, I'm gonna get to hold on, where is it? Let me get rid of this question real quick. I'm gonna get to Charlotte Jordan's question. She put a question up there. She said, "Do y'all believe that everyone is creative and they haven't?" And I think what she's saying is that everybody has some sort of level of creativity, but maybe some people just haven't tapped into it.
I think people tap into it, but they use the wrong reasons. Like, you got to be creative to lie, and most people have told a lie at some point. That's what I'm saying. Either like depending on how bad the lie is, it's a stick figure drawing or a Picasso.
Yep. Everybody is I believe that. I believe that everybody is creative. I think that but sometimes things trigger your creativity to make you get into it. Like I think that as a person that is creative, I think that everybody has something in them that just needs to be tapped into to become creative and express it.
So how come? But I think a lot of times when people think about creativity, they automatically think about like art or like doing something with their hands or creating music or something like that.
Think about
Um,
it. I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
No, just think about where out of and I'm not trying to go here, but I'm going here. I think about out of slavery, how many inventions came from that? Whether it was the cotton gin, whether it was the street light, whether it was blood heart pumps and things. When there's a need, somebody's mind is thinking, dang, if I can do this, then this can rectify this problem. Because when we have problems, we want solutions. And then those creative minds tend to think outside of the box of the norm because Henry Ford said, man, I want an automobile, something that can run with tires and so forth and so on. So he said, okay, we can get this going if I produce this motor and so forth and so on. They get together and they make a car, first automobile, or the Wright brothers or whomever it is. When there's obstacles, people that think outside the box want to go above and beyond those obstacles to say, okay, I can overcome this.
Mhm.
Solving problems
So
is being
so do
creative.
everybody? So is everybody have? So is everybody creative? And
Yes,
you
to
think that
some
some
Yes.
people just don't tap into it, or do everybody tap into it? They're just creative in different areas.
I was about to say that most people don't even realize they're being creative.
Yep.
Like when you solve problems, that's a form of creativity. Everybody doesn't solve problems the same way.
So do you think that some people just think that only certain things are considered being creative? 'Cause I think that some people think that being creative is really about doing something like being an artist, like or drawing or something like that. I don't think that really people think about it in when they're thinking about it as I'm at work every day and I'm solving problems. I don't think they go home and like, you know what, I'm being a creator. So do you think that we are narrow-minded into thinking that it just involves like art and music and I'm gonna say this, but I'm not being disrespectful. Like, like when people say, oh, the weird kids, right? Those are the kids that we look at as like the creators and stuff like that. Sometimes they're the introverts, they were weird clothes, they, different things like that as compared to what we consider normal. I don't agree with that, but I'm saying that that's what some people say. We consider those as the weird kids. So, so how is, if everyone is creative, then how is it that some people are able to do certain things with it and some people are not?
Everybody don't have the tools to express themselves.
Or the correct
think
environment to do so.
Yeah, a lack of. I think it comes down to resources,
Support.
and environment. Like a lot of people know how to do. Like if you know how to, I don't know, bobsled. You know what I'm saying, for a lack of better terms, or for whatever sport. Since we heard that's the most recent one. Do you think you have a better time learning to perfect bobsledding in a place where bobsledding is a sport or not a sport? It's like saying, do you think you'd have a better time in Spain if you spoke Spanish or not? So I think you have to go, you got to be in the element of where you want to go, be validated in your creativity too. That's the other thing too. Creativity is about validation as well. You don't just do it, to some people just do it and make it a hobby. But when it becomes and transitions from being a hobby to something that you want to pursue as a passion, then that hobby is done with a different type of energy. The creativity is still there, but it's relative to whatever you're doing. And so I think people creatively, you have to be creative when you schedule stuff. You schedule around your creativity. You schedule around what's important to you, and you creatively connect to people. Like it's some people that you only deal with in certain spaces because they might mess up your mood.
And I'm gonna jump on what Chris said. Chris, I think he went to environment. Sometimes your environment dictates how creative you can go. Because think about it, like the New Jack City, the movie with Nino Brown, how they set up the Taj Mahal. That was creative. It's creative thinking, even in the hood. It's creative thinking in selling drugs. It's creative thinking in some things that we deem destructive. But the mind says, "Man, I'm gonna make some money because I'm tired of eating these doggone hot dogs, this spam. So I want some money. So this is the way I'm going to go get it." And we deem it as a negative, but that's their survival measure.
Exactly. Remember that you're going off the definition of creativity when you talk about it as an arts thing. It's a building thing. That's the definition. That's where people go to. But creativity, like I said, comes out in some people when they're stressed because they have to be creative to get themselves out of it, and it has to be pushed. You have to be in a dire situation. You become creative and you say, "Okay, I got this." Right? MacGyver. You become. You tap into all kinds of things. You just all of a sudden can do it. It's like when you don't know what to cook for dinner, and all of a sudden you just grab this, grab that, and you make something out of nothing like that. That's creativity right there. Right? Remember the thought. Remember, put it this way. I can relate it like this. The thought process is the creative part. The execution is what comes out. Right? Remember. So it's like you cheat in your mind, but the act of cheating is a different thing. You already cheated in your mind. You already done it. So now you're acting it out. And creativity is the thought, and the execution is what comes out. So from thought to expression,
That's why. Yep, and that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people are creative, and then the lack of resources and the ability to express it's like you can have 10 people doing the same thing, and if you got different resources, you're gonna get different product. And it's not guaranteed that the person with the most resources will have the best work either. The person with the least amount of resources is probably going to be the you know what I'm saying, the best creator in that situation, in that scenario, because it's a survival element that's the difference between, like when you watch sports and you see somebody like, man, these players ain't hungry anymore because it's all about money. You know what I'm saying? And it changes the quality of the product that you're watching, right? It's the same thing. It's like if there has to be an element of survival, there has to be a threat of failure.
Yeah.
and that changes the type of product. You can tell when somebody's hungry or not.
Yeah.
You,
What you got, Chris?
I mentioned environment, and you immediately went to resources. That was not what I was referring to. I was referring to the environment of being able to have a talent and not be able to flourish in it because the people around you don't think that it's lucrative, or the people around you put their limitations upon you. That's what I meant by environment. I wasn't talking about
Oh,
resources and all of that. That is a component of it that is true, but I have seen people,
parents.
you know what I'm saying? I've seen parents completely destroy their child because their child had a gift, but their parent couldn't see themselves doing it. But I have also seen parents dive into what their children wants to do, and that child is flourishing beyond measure because she has a creative space. That is what I mean by environment.
That
Having a
is
talent is a
true.
good thing, but for some strange and we were talking about cultural norms last week. This is what I'm talking about. Unless you can dribble a basketball, run a football, play some kind of sport, or you are some type of, you can get your way into some type of talent, something, anything outside of that, they're going to look at it like it's funny. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I mean by environment. And
Like if you want to skateboard in the hood.
yeah, but well, you know what's crazy? I see more skateboarders in the hood now.
Now,
Now,
yeah.
You
but
understand what
not
I'm
when I
saying?
grew up, I was the only
Yeah.
black guy in the neighborhood that was had a skateboard.
Yeah, but
Right,
that's
like
what
I
I'm
played
saying. Like
tennis.
that's what I'm saying. Like you have to be in that type of environment to be able to creatively flourish. And for some people, that environment is a place that they really can't escape from. So they can't really flourish like they want to. You understand what I'm saying? Or
Yep.
they get the dream beat out of them because their parents think that they should go work for somebody for 25 years and then retire on a pension. You understand what I'm saying?
It's just
Being,
fragile.
being a creative is is being a creative is extremely hard, male or female, because we have to deal with rejection on a regular basis. You understand what I'm saying? So that could be a hindrance in itself. The fact that you know that there's always going to be somebody that can outdo you, but you have the talent to be up there with them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and to add to that, remember, talent just means it's easier for me to do it than you, but it still has to be nurtured. But it's just that it's easy for me to do it. I don't have to practice like you, but it still has to be nurtured.
Right.
That's what talent is. Talent has nothing else. You could practice basketball all day long, and you ain't gonna be a Jordan, but Jordan had a talent, and that talent he nurtured. But nobody's gonna be able to do it like Jordan because that's a talent of his own. It's just
Well,
his
he had.
talent.
I agree, but he had more of a gift because
Yeah,
all of them got the talent.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I said think the gift
Yeah.
recognize a gift amongst the
But
many.
see, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would call it a gift now because you rarely see it. But back then, it wouldn't be called a gift. He just had the will. I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna do this. A lot of
I
men
But
have
think you
you saw
lost
got to
that
that.
he
have
had
it
talent,
all.
though. But you saw that he had talent, though.
Yeah, he
Well,
had talent, but he
You got to
also
have
had the
both.
will. He
I
had the
was
talent to play the game, but he had the will to go out there and be like, I am not losing. And if we lose, I'm gonna make sure that I did the best that I could to help my team.
Was the will part of the gift? Is that something that comes with the gift? Does the talent and the will and all of that stuff
Yes,
come with the
Nah,
gift, or are
nah.
talent
The
they
is
will,
like
separate
the
separate
will
things?
comes from knowing what you are in your talent and not
yes,
giving a fuck.
So
That's where the will comes
you can
from.
have the gift but not the will,
like
Yeah.
yeah,
or
let
the
me
talent but not the gift and not the will.
yeah.
prime example, right? I think most people would say um, that there are a bunch of quarterbacks that are better than Tim Tebow, right? But we've seen him compete, and he will show up in areas where most people would never have looked for him to be in, and he'd have success in a spot where other quarterbacks probably would produce something different, but you just wouldn't expect it from him. And every time you look up, he's not going away. Like he's just different. And the way he accomplishes the same thing. It's like somebody that is like the basketball player that's missing an arm. I can't think of his name right now, but he had that crossing people up.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, come on. He had that crossing people up. He looked like, you know, he was born with a basketball in his hand. You know, the way he moves with the rock.
Just tall, smooth,
Today,
all of that.
today,
Huh?
there's a basketball player like that today.
Right now.
Yes. And he
Yeah.
is,
One
and
arm?
he like
Yeah, he will embarrass you.
he's
He'll
but see,
embarrass everybody else.
he's like really, really tall and elusive. But yes, he only has one arm and he is destroying cats.
Is he in the pros or I just
Nah,
never heard of him.
I don't think he's I don't even think he graduated high
I
school
think he
yet.
going his first. Yeah, he about to go to college. I think in
Yeah, I
Virginia.
don't even think he out of high school yet.
Wow, I gotta look him up on YouTube. I didn't know this.
So
Yeah.
if we're talking about talent and talent and will and all these different things, so would it be fair to say that every quarterback that's in the NFL has a gift and that they have talent?
No, everybody.
No, hold on, because here's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Let's say there's 32 teams. Let's say each team has 3 quarterbacks. We got 96 quarterbacks. They're the top 96 quarterbacks in the world. So will we be fair to say that they all have talent and that they all have a gift, or no?
No, they all have talent because they made it to that 1%. That right there.
They all
Now,
have talent. All
they all
right.
have
So
talent.
now I'm trying to separate it.
Okay.
Let's say it's 96 quarterbacks. They all have talent.
Yep, they're all there for a
What
reason.
separates the bottom guy from Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, whoever your top guy is? What separates, if all of those 96 guys, they're the top guy,
Right.
what separates, you know what
The
I mean?
the gifted ones.
Outcomes.
Those are the elite, the gifted ones.
So
Do you remember? Hold on. Do you remember
separation
what I said
say-
earlier?
But to Chris's point, wouldn't the what word did you use? Environment. Would environment play a part in it too?
But see,
No.
here's the thing that you're missing out. Yes, they all have a similar environment, meaning that they all play on a football field and they all pretty much crash into each other. But this is what happens when you put the elite in a box and then try to see who's elite out of the elite. You understand what I'm saying?
That's
To
what we're
make it
doing.
to
Elite out
to
of
make
elite. I
to
get it.
even make it to the NFL, that makes you an elite talent, because
Exactly.
there are
Right.
only a handful of people that do that. But now, since you all have this elite talent to be here, this is where all the elite talents are. So let's see who is among the elite of the elites. You understand what I'm saying?
So
Yeah,
that
but
ain't really a
remember,
fair conversation really to have then, really,
Those-
is it? I mean,
But
because
on the flip side of that, there are a handful of quarterbacks that know the position of quarterback and play it so well because they understand their role as the quarterback. Do you remember the zone that I was telling you about? There are quarterbacks out there that are in the zone weeks at a time. You understand what I'm saying? Completing passes, knowing when to run, when to switch, when to run an option, when to run out. You know what I'm saying? How to do. There's only an elite handful of quarterbacks that can do that. The rest of them are just great at playing the position.
There's a huge difference between Pat Mahomes and, you know, whoever throws the ball in, you know, like in Washington right now.
you said whoever's throwing the ball in
you guys got to understand. Okay, I'm gonna
the
say
amount of disrespect, but I'm a
you guys need to understand.
Let me understand, Antoine.
You guys need to understand. Records are meant to be broken, right? But records are meant to be broken. That's not the magic part. Okay? Records are meant to be broken, but you can have two people singing a song, but it could sound, but it'll never sound as good as the original. Why? Because the magic has already been captured. When the magic is already captured, you can never reproduce that magic ever.
I don't know, man.
It's like this. Whitney Houston she is a phenom. When she sang the American anthem, there will never be anybody come along to break how she sang it. That's on another level of greatness. You'll have people come along and do it good, but you'll never have the magic because it's already been captured. You can't bottle it back up and release it again. It's already out there. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I said, those are phenoms.
They're
They're
like, nah,
phenoms in a
that's
sense
subjective.
that they're meant to inspire. No, they're meant to inspire generations to come. Like Michael Jackson, he broke barriers. Those are meant to inspire. Michael Jordans are meant to inspire generations to come. But you'll always talk about Jordan. There will never be a conversation about basketball that's not a Jordan. There will never be a conversation about singing or soul music when you're on the level of Aretha Franklin. These are phenoms. These are not everyday voices you're going to hear. Whitney Houston is a voice you're not going to hear the next person come up and do it. These are little nuggets that you get thrown at. That's how I
look at teams. You can't take a team sport and then make it to where, oh, this person is the best. Like Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes has a bunch of talent around. Has a talented offensive line. Whereas you look at what's his name, Jones in New York, garbage offensive line. His running back went down. He had zero, or Washington had zero receivers. When you don't have talent around you in a team sport, you're gonna look kind of like trash. So like Pat Mahomes, he has a gift of throwing the ball at awkward positions and stuff, but he also had Tyreek Hill who would run and go get it and take it to the house. So when you talk about stuff like that, it's different than you talk about a Tiger Woods. It's different than you talking about a Serena Williams or somebody who's doing it all by themselves.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Because it depends on your defense. It depends on your offensive line. So you depend on a lot of people. But at the end of the day, when we talking gifts and talent, we have a lot of people who put it. Emmitt Smith had an offensive line. He holds the record for the most yards, but during his time, he wasn't the most talented running back. Because when you think about Barry Sanders, or you think about Bo Jackson or Marcus Allen or somebody like that, they had more talent. He had the better team. So his stats say, hey, I'm the greatest. Whereas everybody else looking at him like, nah, because you can even, like, people don't like OJ, but OJ was a monster. OJ was a beast.
I don't remember OJ. I just saw clips of OJ.
You grew up with the Hertz rental car.
I'm a Cowboys fan, man. You know what I'm saying?
Like look at this example. You have singers back in the day that will. Look at a Luther Vandross. These are guys that you haven't heard that. Look at Marvin Gaye. That man can pick up a microphone and sing. He don't need no background. He don't need no acapellas. That man could just sing. He pulled off on Johnny Carson. He just pulled out a voice, and you're like, God damn, like really?
His music has gotten me in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's generational talent.
It's just
but
like,
that's what I was saying earlier. Like, that's the difference. That's like putting all of the elites together and saying who's the elite out of the elite. Because to even be in that position, you have to be elite, because there aren't that many people that can do it. Yep. That's why I don't do the whole who's the greatest this, who's the greatest that. You understand what I'm saying? Because there are factors that play into that. Yeah, it's more like who's my favorite.
Yeah, cause I know kids like my age talking about like Tupac. I mean, not my age, but like, they like 19, 20. They talking about like Tupac and Biggie in their top 5. I'm like, how? Like, y'all got your own. Not saying that they're not, but I can't put none of these young rappers in my top generation because I don't listen to their music like that. Now, they may be great. I don't have Tupac and Biggie in my top 5. Only because
I'm a fusion of both, and I don't have Biggie and Pac in my top 5.
Because like when I grew up and I started listening to music and stuff, like there was certain music I didn't listen to and I wasn't allowed to listen to. When I started listening to music, I was an R&B dude. So I was listening to the R&B dudes. You know what I mean? So I missed all of the 80s and most of the 90s rap and stuff like that when rap was at the highest and stuff. Like I missed all. I was kind of in it, but I really wasn't. I was just now starting to get into rap music. So those weren't even though I'm 47, those guys are not the top rappers. Like Good, Bad, or Indifferent, I was an Eminem fan. That was my dude. I was a Snoop Dogg fan. That was my dude. Those are the people that I listen to. So I was Jay-Z. Those are my top dudes, because that's what I listen to. Not based off of what someone said on the internet, and I won't agree with Vic. So whatever Vic says, but either way, again, I didn't took the conversation a little bit left. I apologize. But anyway, With that being said, we get to some. We got about 15 minutes to do some true and false questions. Charlotte Jordan, everybody that chimed in the chat, I appreciate you for being here. Everybody at home, really appreciate it. Continue to engage in the chat, all those good things like that. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, true or false, everyone possesses an inner genius waiting to be waiting to be tapped into for creative endeavors. What do you think, Charlotte Jordan? It's true or
You guys
false?
keep saying that name. Is she a regular?
Yeah, that's my mom.
He's only been here for 2 years. That's all.
Just since I've
Oh,
been
that's your
here
mom.
at least.
Yeah, she's over here every week.
Yeah, you guys always mention her name. She's always in the chat. She's always in the chat.
Yeah,
That's
That's my
wild.
mom.
situation
That's your
supportive.
mom, huh?
0.
She's supportive.
Wow, man, your mom's really supportive, man. Yeah.
She be on
Oh,
on
mom.
Friday night. She be on Empower Perspective podcast.
I would say it's true though. I
Say
think
true?
I'd say
yeah,
that's
true.
true. Generally
I would
speaking,
too. That's
true.
true.
Yeah. That horse is dead right there.
Dang, everyone.
Kick it back to life.
All right, you guys so smart. So, true or false? Everyone should create something in their life.
I think this is a very.
That is true.
I think everyone
Yeah,
does
or at least
create
try it.
something.
I think ideally, I think we all create something. Some people create problems, solutions, and opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
So
Like
the
that.
people creating problems shouldn't be creating.
Hey, that's
How do you know it's a
actually-
problem?
how you know it's a
actually-
problem.
You understand what I'm saying? How
That's
do
why I
you know
say
it's a
it's
problem?
subjective. It's
But
subjective.
actually, you do. If you think about polarities, we need people to create
Well,
problems for their
I tell you like
solution.
this: if you create things that hurt other people, don't create those things.
But there's always going to be people to create those things, so you're always going to
Hey,
have
I
to
just
have
said,
people
hey,
to create.
So that's why I say it like is true or false on this one is kind of ambiguous. Because like for instance, like I saw that way differently than y'all probably saw it, you know. But as we started unpacking and asking the questions, what measures success is different for people from person to person based on the environment, right? Because what if the person doesn't know that they're creating problems, you know? And the thing that they deem to be a problem is based off of their morals. The method in which they go do it is based off of how they were raised.
Or or their environment taught them that the nonsense that they was doing was normal.
What if the nonsense that you're creating is profitable?
That's called Moderna.
And we got a whole bunch of private jails in small communities.
Hey, that's creative. You know what I'm saying? Like anything that you got to be covert about, you got to be creative.
I mean, that is true. I mean, you remember when you used to get in trouble, you do something. Remember, like when you was planning your lie for whatever it is you did. Think about all the thoughts and creativity and the whole process that you went into
to tell a dumb
trying to not get caught in whatever it is. It could be, growing up. Remember, your mom said, "Don't eat the cookie. Don't steal the cookie out the cookie jar." And you like, what kind of alibi can I come up with? Where was I at? What time of day it was?
Couldn't have been me.
Can I go brush my teeth? You know what I mean? All these different things to come up. I mean, when you lie, you are creative. You are in a creative zone sometimes.
I said it earlier. I said the lie is creative too.
It's a creative zone right there.
It's a 2D movie.
Let's move on past this one. With that being said, are there limits to creativity?
No.
No way.
Individual limits.
No.
I think we limit ourselves.
Yeah.
It has no limits.
Yeah, creativity itself does not have any limits. I do think it's about the audience. There's an audience for everything. There's people that watch grown adults run around on ponies and jumping over stuff, like and pretending that they on a real horse and it's a toy horse. There's a whole market.
About?
you know what I'm talking about?
That's why I want to hear it again.
Like those play horses that there's like a stick with a horse's head on it. There's a whole community that's made a sport out of this, and it's like using a human as an equestrian. And people really watch the competition. You know what I'm saying? Like go
Wait a
watch.
minute. Wait, you're holding a stick and you're running?
Like picture running around with a broom and pretending that it was a horse, and then you jumping over stuff.
That's a game?
That sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my
That's
That is
life.
the,
I can't make
that
it
is
up.
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
What do you think that? What do you think the top 3 cities are for that sport?
I know it ain't Detroit. I know it ain't Cleveland. I
Hey,
know it.
It's
I,
nowhere. I know it's nowhere near me.
it's
hey,
no.
See, that's why I asked for cities, Roland. Asked for cities.
I'm gonna look it up.
San Diego or somewhere. San
Oh.
Francisco.
I
I
I
know
Boulder,
it ain't.
Colorado.
Oregon, all the Oregon, you
Yeah.
know, something like that, man.
Yeah.
You know, I
What
just
about Birmingham? Birmingham?
Nah,
Hell
nah,
no,
no.
you don't get that
Detroit?
over
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
there.
Birmingham.
You're crazy. I'm gonna find the horse jumping thing.
They down there with them folding chairs down in Alabama.
I never heard of that one, Vic. You got me on that one, man. That is definitely a first.
Yeah, I ain't never heard of that too. Yeah, look it up and send it to
It's
us in the
like
private
toy-
chat. We'll talk about it after the show.
Toy
Hey,
horse
next question. True or false? Creativity is solely about artistic expression and doesn't play a role in problem solving or innovation.
False.
False.
That's false. Yeah, that's false.
That's definitely false.
Creativity solves problems.
That's all it's there for.
I can dig it. True or false? Mindfulness exercises and techniques can help enhance one's receptivity to new creative ideas.
That's a true one right there.
Mm.
Is that a
I
word?
think that-
It's called hobby horse. The hobby
It's
horse.
called
yeah.
what?
The-
You gotta send me the link on that one. I
Yeah,
wanna
put
see
it in the
that.
private chat. We'll talk about it after the show. What y'all think about this? What about the mindful exercises? Antoine said true.
I said true to that.
Mindfulness exercise technique.
It is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that one too. Ooh, creative blocks. True or false? Creative blocks are insurmountable barriers that can be overcome with practice and strategies.
I think so. I like to say that's true.
I would
Let's
say
talk. Yeah, go
false. I would say
take
false.
us
and
down a
here's why.
creative block.
Creative blocks are insurmountable barriers that can be overcome with practice and strategies.
That's false.
You got to change one of those. You got to either take insurmountable out.
Right. Because
If you got to take a word out, it's false.
right.
Yeah.
Because if I'm looking at it as the way that it is, it doesn't look like any barrier a creative block is not a barrier that is insurmountable.
Right.
So just by reading the statement is false.
Yep.
Because if you can overcome it with practice and strategies, then it was never insurmountable in the first place. It was something that you could get over.
Yeah. I think the minute that you have to deconstruct the statement and change words is probably false.
And Antoine, can you take us down a 1 or 2 minute ride when it comes to creative blocks? Just anything that you want to say when it comes to creative blocks and maybe how it comes to creativity.
A creative block is anything that stops you from expression, period. Rather it be apparent, rather it be an obstacle, it stops you from expressing yourself. Because like I said, the thought is creative. The action is a process. So anything that stops that process from you expressing yourself. So it could be apparent, not investing in your skills, not believing you could become that basketball player, not believing you can write a novel. Anything that hinders what your expression should be. Anybody that's trying to tell you, I can't publish this because it doesn't sound good. I don't like it. It's not good. And you know, creatively, it'll do well. And it does if somebody gets to see it. That's
So is the creative block short term or long term? And the reason why I'm asking is this, because I remember, you've talked about it and we joke about it sometime when Antoine's light is on, do not come in here. You know what I mean? Even little baby Antoine, so because I remember you talked about how your focus can get shifted. You can come out of that zone. So I understand being in the zone and being dialed in while you're creating. So, but I don't know how long creative blocks or what is considered a creative block. So like in that moment, could your wife or your child coming in there while you are disturbing you while you're in that creative zone, could that cause a creative block? Or
Yeah, they can take me off. They can break that connection that I have. Like I said, for me, creativity is channeling. I got something going on. It's going like this, and I got something going on for me at that level. What I do. That's why I said, like, I don't know why you're bothering me. Like, I don't need you for anything in there. I would need my wife for nothing in there. There's nothing she can say. Oh, that's a beautiful picture. Great. Go back to what you're doing. Does nothing for me. Like that, because you're that focused. It's just coming and you just want to get it out. Yeah, I agree with that.
Gotcha.
Insurmountable one.
What was it next one?
I think it's false.
False. All right. Collaboration and exposure to diverse perspectives can hinder the creative process by introducing conflicting ideas.
Yes.
True.
Roland talked about that earlier. Like when it comes down to music, that there's certain things like that. Like if you're doing music,
give me an example of that.
Like if you're doing music, right, and you don't want to have your sound intertwined with something that you've been listening to.
So if you're a rapper, you're trying to create, you listen to Jay-Z the whole time.
Oh, that's horrible.
No.
Is that what you meant, Roland? Is that what Roland? Is that what you meant?
Like,
it's like I don't know if you guys
completely different. Like listen to country music or something. You know what I'm saying?
Or like I used to listen to classical music because it didn't have words.
Yep.
But like on Kevin Hart's Heart to Heart, he was interviewing Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre, he asked him who would he want to work with or had a chance to work with. He said Stevie Wonder, but Dr. Dre was intimidated. He said he's my hero, so anything that I'm trying to do with him changes the sound I have in my head for him, so I don't want to do that. So he didn't want to work. That was a block for him. Like, no, I can't work with I can't work with Stevie Wonder. I can't work with Prince. I can't work with Michael Jackson. Because they have a sound that's them, and anything I can't add to them because they're here, and that's how he saw it.
I can relate to that. I like that. I like that
because he is to his genre of music, the way he sees him, what I'm saying, Michael Jackson and Prince to their genre of music. Like they managed to create individual sounds about themselves that they can't be intertwined with each other. I get it. It's like you don't want to repeat somebody else's process.
Yeah. Chris, so here's my thought. I think it's false. But I think it's based off the person, right? I think that sometimes, depending on whatever you're creating, the more information you gather, the more information that you have. But at the same time, I also understand Antoine's perspective when he was talking about creating something from nothing. You know what I mean? So honestly, I kind of see it both ways. And since I can kind of see it both ways, I'm kind of more like so I'm false. Like I think that sometimes exposure to diverse perspective can actually help the creative process.
But when you put that word "can" in there, can mean it can go both ways.
Yeah,
that's why I went this way.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
right.
Got it. Yeah.
Creativity allows you to have it both ways. Like some things are just linear. You can't. Some things are just right or wrong.
Chris?
Yes or no?
I would say that one is more situational than anything. Because in some cases it can hinder, in some cases it can massively help. And multiply.
I think it comes down to the individual. And the reason why I asked you because of this. Like my wife can listen to music loud and sit over there and do homework. Me, it got to be some jazz. It got to be something with no words in it. Because if I know the words, I'll find myself picking it up.
That's exactly why we said earlier about music. And if you're an artist and you're trying to create music, you got to be careful what you're listening to. So that's why we said like classical music or something like that, something with no words in it, right? Something was just, sound. Because like you just said, then you hear the words and it alters your ability to perform, right? Have you ever been trying to talk to somebody while sending a text message and then you can't do both? You got to say, hold on. is because the mind is trying to figure out what to do with your motor skills. You know what I'm
Or
saying?
drive backwards, you got to turn the radio down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's always something that alternatively allows you to, accomplish what it is you said.
Concentrate. Yeah.
Like when you,
Hey, real quick, hey, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got like 5 more of these real quick, and we already at the time mark. So let's shoot through these real quick, gentlemen.
yeah,
Real
Really
quick.
good topic.
Yeah. True false. Blah, blah, blah. True false. The concept of inner genius is creativity. In creativity refers only to genetically gifted individuals.
false.
That's false.
Yeah, I think
That's
everybody
false.
put false on that. That's a good one. Cultivating creativity requires setting rigid rules and boundaries to channel ideas effectively.
It can.
It can, but
It depends on the individual.
I want to say false
Rigid.
a bit on that.
I think it
False
depends on.
because of the word
It
rigid.
requires setting
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say
rigid-
true,
Yeah.
but only from this aspect. Setting
creativity
rigid
is not
rules and
contained.
boundaries just means that
Yeah,
I'm
because
going
it's
to
not
focus on
contained.
solely on this and nothing else. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to let
Yeah.
anything take me
Yeah.
away from this. So I would
Yeah.
say true. It would help
Really?
channel ideas it would help channel ideas effectively because you're only focused
Requires.
on the thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Did it
So I
come
would say
down for you,
yeah, you
Chris,
gotta have
the
rules.
definition of the word rigid?
That
I
could be
think
subjective too.
all of this is subjective because, like a football coach, like has to have a philosophy that cultivates empowerment and let his coaches work independently so they could use their creativity to put their philosophy into their players so they can get the best performance out of it. And sometimes that requires somebody to adhere to a higher understanding. And in a larger group and in a team situation, everybody has to adhere to a higher understanding. That's why Roland said it's hard to grade people that play a team sport versus athletes that play an individual sport.
True false. Creativity is an inherent trait, and there's no need for intentional effort to develop it further. You
False.
got
And
it.
you know that's false.
False.
You
Your
knew that
daddy
when you
didn't
typed
give
it
it to
up.
you. Your mama didn't give it to you.
Hey,
False.
Yes, OL.
they know it was a bad question to ask because from the get go it's already on some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's not inherent.
Oh man. Curiosity is the driving force that contributes to fostering innovation and original thinking.
Yes, true.
I say yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I would say true. It's definitely a driving force. Absolutely. I'm definitely saying true. What'd you say, Antoine? Was he frozen?
Stuck.
He
Yeah, he
stuck
frozen.
smiling? He stuck smiling in his sexy man pose?
Like
Look at him.
we like
He looked like he had on the thong
You
for a
look like
minute.
one of
I'm
them
like,
old album covers from the 70s.
Y'all take everything just too far. This man paused and he had 8-bit Nintendo graphics. 8-bit.
Yeah, Nintendo graphics.
Y'all just went in and clown.
Antoine, my man, 50 grand though. Hey, last one, and then we out of here. Hey, mind wandering and daydreaming have no impact on enhancing creative thinking abilities.
Are you serious? That is false. I daydream a lot.
That's what
Oh,
So you should
creativity is.
daydream more.
Listen, man, I love sitting in the room with nothing like powered on, like my phone turned off, my laptop turned off, my TV turned off, and just sitting here and just being alone with my thoughts and just daydreaming about all of the stuff that I want to do. Man, that is such and
Oh,
it
yes.
it that feeling stays with you when you're able to do that. It stays with
and
you.
that's why any psychiatrist or whomever will tell you to take all your TVs and all that stuff out your bedroom because now your mind is trained to go to bed instead of because even when the little red light is on, you thinking, man, I wonder what they doing on ESPN. I wonder what happened on this. What CNN talking about? What the weather in Texas or California? You start thinking of all this stuff in your head because you sitting up there just looking at the light, wondering what's going on.
Yeah. I want to wait till Antoine come back. I like daydreaming, man. Even when I ain't daydreaming, like Chris said, just being with nothing. Like I get up at like when I head out in the morning to go to the gym in the morning. So I'm leaving like 4:30, 4:40 in the morning, and I'm heading out. And bruh, it ain't nobody out there but other people going to work out or other people going to work and like deer and
Man, I'm
stuff.
sorry, guys.
But man, I put my hoodie on. I put my hood over my head. I
I'm
roll
so
my
sorry,
windows
guys,
down,
man.
and I don't have nothing on. I don't have no music on, no radio or nothing. And it is so peaceful. And by the time I'm get there, I'm just like I'm ready. You know what I mean? I'm focused. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, I'll listen to something, but it's only like a 8 to 10 minute drive. You know, so most of the time I ain't got nothing on. I'm just going there in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to turn around this morning because I forgot my shoes and had to go back home. Get them.
Nothing worse than getting at the house and then leaving something.
Yeah, especially your shoes. I needed them.
Yeah.
I'd be walking out the house in Crocs. And then put my shoes when I get to the gym. Yeah, they be complaining about tracking sand and dirt inside the gym and stuff sometimes, but yeah, I
Okay,
take
hey,
my
Vic,
shoes
now
off
that you're
after the
back, I got
gym.
a question for you guys. So,
Ask the question, then we can roll out.
okay. So, are we still live?
Yeah, we still live.
Oh, I can't ask my question then.
All right, well, I'm glad you asked then. Hey, with that being said, we want to hear what Antoine's question is. So
Oh,
we're
no.
gonna jump off of
This is
here
after hours. So
and
I
end
didn't
the
see the red.
show. Hey, with that being said, gentlemen, I appreciate all y'all expertise, your conversation, everything that you shared with us and the chat today, and everybody who's watching. Chat, appreciate you for being here. Everybody who is watching on another platform, I appreciate you. With that being said, we will be back again next week, same time, same bad place. I forgot to mention Coach. He got some other things going on. So, but FYI, he will be on Empowering Perspective podcast this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if I know most of y'all probably didn't, but just in case you missed Code Talk this morning, go ahead over on the on Vic's channel. Vic, drop your link real quick and go over there and watch the replay of this morning's episode of Code Talk. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for another great episode of Elevated Dialogue. We are out.